Okay, I have been lollygagging on doing this today, and I don't know if this is gonna make me feel better or worse or what, but I wanted to talk, and this is gonna be serious. You know, it's serious if I put a written disclaimer at the beginning, which is I haven't done it yet because that requires me to edit, and I actually plan on editing. You know, this is real serious. If I feel like if I'm gonna put it all out there and do editing on the shit. So I wanted to talk. This is a general vlog about the trial and conviction of Derek Chauvin and the whole situation regarding George Floyd. And I am super nervous about covering this topic because one, I am not eloquent. I swear a lot. And you all know, you hang out on my channel, you know the kind of fuckery that be coming out of my mouth. So this is like the preamble to all this. It's hard for me to talk about this one for the obvious reasons. And it's also hard for me to talk about because I'm not in the United States at present. And I've kind of seen a lot of shit go down in the last 43 years. Quick veer off of topic. I was watching that Netflix documentary about the Challenger. And I was like, as I was watching it, and I'm like, God damn. That was like the first like major tragedy I can say happened in my lifetime. And as I was watching it, I'm like, yo, that is the tip of the fucking tragedy iceberg when you think about it. So, yeah. So, when this case came up and the guy Derek Chauvin went on trial, I'm just like, this is probably going to be another Rodney King situation. But unlike that, when that happened, I think I was in like 7th grade and I was listening to the classical music channel and they were like in the morning after the one morning show went off, hey bear, after the one morning show, the super early morning classical music show went off, the next classical music show for 6 o'clock was coming on and they always gave you the news at the top of the hour. And I remember them saying that those dudes at the Rodney King trial were acquitted. And I had no idea what acquitted meant. So I have no idea. So I was just kind of like, well, what does that mean? And then when we got to school, everybody was talking about it. And I was like, oh, well, that's fucked up. And then by the time I came home from school, LA was pretty much in turmoil. And it was just like, shit. So when this came up, it was just like, here we go again. So thankfully that didn't happen, that Chauvin was not thankfully acquitted because it was terrible. So now that I gave you the preamble to this, let me get into this. And I actually the night that I got the news, I actually sat and did this because it was a lot of stuff. I got the news about it literally like right before I went to bed. And I was just like, oh, thank God. Okay, because if he had been acquitted, I don't even know. So, I mean, in all honesty, I thought they were going to just... Okay, before we get into it, I'm going to give you all what I wrote, and the introduction, the verdict announcement, and yeah. So, as I said, this was like, I read that on Twitter. Literally, I'm in bed, getting ready to go to sleep, doing my final check of my phone before I fall asleep. And I see the news, and I'm like, oh, here we fucking go. And I click on it, and they were like, guilty on all charges. So I was like, oh, okay, thank God. And then my mom texted me. She's like, Adrian, they were doing this, and they made that guy guilty. And I was just like, I know, I saw. So I went to bed, and I didn't think about it. And honestly, I didn't really look to see what the opinions were. The most opinions that I saw primarily were on Twitter, and they were like, oh, thank God, this is over, and hopefully, like, better things will start happening. That remains to be seen, but whatever. So, and I have under introduction, what does this mean in the grand scheme of the universe? Philosophically speaking, I'm sure in the grand scheme of the universe, for me, the grand scheme of the universe, I'm sure for some people it doesn't mean a lot. It actually does mean a lot because it's rare that we see complete accountability for things like this. And it's just the fact that we even had to worry that he was gonna get off. The fact that we had to worry about that is just so troubling in and of itself. And it speaks to how lopsided the justice system is in the United States. I can't speak for Germany. I don't know how their criminal justice system works. I did ultimately look up like how jail is supposed to be here, and despite my illusions that I'm thinking it's just you working in a rock quarry and they're punching you like periodically throughout the day, that's actually not how German prisons are. Apparently they actually believe in actually trying to rehabilitate people and not just locking them up and throwing out the key and being like, fuck you. They actually believe in rehabilitating people. I cannot remember all of it because this was a couple months ago that I looked into this, but they actually believe in actual rehabilitating people so they don't fall back into bad patterns. So, but like, I don't know how the criminal justice system works anywhere else, but the American criminal justice system is pretty much, if you have the best lawyers, you can get away with literally anything. So it was the fact that we even had to worry about something like that in and of itself is troubling. And I know people are like, no, it's fucking troubling. There should have been no question. There should have been zero question whether or not the man should have gone to jail. It should not have been a thought in anyone's head. We all fucking saw what went down. So there shouldn't have been any doubt for a moment. But again, you can never tell how these things work. So, but for me, in the grand scheme of things, despite trying to say, oh, George Floyd was a drug addict, despite, oh, he had some kind of panic situation and he was trying to fight the police, because I do believe some of that was going around, especially amongst the more ridiculous, i.e. conservative viewpoints, or, oh, he had a heart issue and that's what happened. And I am so glad, because I did see some of the medical professionals on the stand giving their testimony, and they shut all of that shit down. But for me, his mental health status and his health status and his criminal record and his alleged drug use or what the fuck ever, to me, is all fucking irrelevant, because none of those things were going on at that point in time that was going down. Now, I guess if you want to try to make the argument, oh, that the store clerk called the cops on him because of an alleged criminal action, that did not need to escalate to the point where someone is dead and someone's going to rightly spend the rest of their lives rotting away in fucking prison. In fact, dude's going to spend most of his prison term by his fucking self, because I'm sure if they put him within the general circulation of the regular prison population, his ass is going to get killed. So, and I hope you enjoy spending time by yourself, motherfucker, because you're going to be left alone with your thoughts for a long ass time. They can't put you in quote unquote Gen Pop. You are going to die if you go in Gen Pop. So I don't know what the fuck to tell you. So my suggestion is you get real comfortable with the kind of asshole you are and start figuring some shit out and how you got to this point, because you're going to spend a lot of time alone. So, because there's no fucking way that they're going to put you in the general flow of the rest of the inmates in whatever prison you will rot the rest of your life in, because by sending you out in that foray, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it long. So, you get used to being by yourself, motherfucker. Because that's legit what's about to happen to your ass next. So, and for going back to the original point, for me, they tried to demonize George Floyd into making it seem like he was some kind of a monster. And I don't know who he was, I have no idea what kind of person he was, but I don't think because you have a alleged drug problem, that doesn't make you, horrible to the point of murder. That doesn't, just because you have a criminal record. I technically have a criminal record because I have traffic tickets. That's on my record. So, like, I don't think it's criminal, but that's like a bad thing on a record of mine somewhere because I have 2 tickets. So does that make it that I'm deserving of death because I have a couple of traffic tickets? No, it does not. So just because somebody has gone to jail and spent time in jail doesn't rob them of their humanity. They're still a fucking human being that deserves, to live, I guess. So I don't see how having a criminal record, having a drug issue, having any of these things makes it so people are deserving of death. That is such a fucked up way of looking at it. And if you look at anything, if you look at people and you break them down to just their mistakes, then that means we are all deserving of death because we made a bad choice of some form or fashion. And they can say, well, you're being hyperbolic. No, because that's pretty much what you motherfuckers have been trying to say and do. That he deserved this because of X, Y, and Z thing. And no one fucking deserves this. Point blank, period, full fucking stop. So, is that you? You're the Shayla under the table. So, yeah, I'm so glad that in spite of everything that the defense and more disgusting, I don't even want to say conservatives, because really, if you think that was justified, you need to look at yourself. You have something bad going on upstairs, and you probably need to sit and talk to like a trained professional, because that's just fucked up. It's like the right conclusion here was made. That dude, the cop, just took it way further than it even needed to go, and he has coming to him exactly what he deserves. So let's just throw that out there. Part 2 of this with me is how I feel about the American police tactics and my own personal interactions with law enforcement, both at home and abroad. So, and I have my 2-ish story times, and I'll try to make them quick, but this is probably going to be long anyway. So I never told this story, but the day, and I mean the day we arrived in Germany, my husband had to go pick up the van that we would be using to transport all our stuff and our dogs who were still in crates to the apartment. Remember the apartment we were staying in for like a little bit when we first arrived in Germany? So he left me at the airport by the exit with all our stuff, which we had a lot of stuff, and the crates with both Shyla and Raven in them. And he got lost trying to go back he got lost trying to find the car dealer and then trying to get back around to where we were. He had gotten lost, and I was standing there with the dogs for at least, I want to say, 20 to 50 minutes, I'll say. It wasn't a complete hour. It might have been, but I was so like discombobulated and trying to keep the dogs, because the dogs were all hysterical. I was trying to keep them calm, and like I'm just kind of like all over the place. So after a very long time, 2 police officers walk up to me, and having to deal with the United States and their wacky ass fucking police tactics, my brain automatically went into, okay, I'm going to have to probably kind of de-escalate these guys because they're probably at a 10, and then I'll have to deal with this. But the officer came up to me, and by the way, yes, they had fucking military AK-ish, I don't know what the fuck were, but they had like military ass looking weapons, and they walked up to me and was like, are you okay? Because you've been here a while. Like, it wasn't coming from a place of antagonism, or wasn't coming from a place of like, what the fuck are you doing here kind of thing. It was a legitimate, you've been here for a while, is everything okay? And I was like, oh yeah, my husband's on his way to get the rental car, and then we'll be leaving. And he was like, well, somebody's supposed to pick you up. And I was like, yeah, my husband is, because he was speaking English. He's like, okay, so somebody is coming to get you. And I'm like, yeah, we just got here. My husband had to go get the car, and he'll be getting me. And then they started asking a couple more questions, and I tried to answer them. But at that point, my husband came up. Like, I saw him, because I think I saw him, but when he saw me with the police, he like darted over. And he was immediately, what's going on? What's happening? Why do you want to talk to her? Like, he immediately went on the defensive, because he kind of knows how I don't think he knows how I get around the police. Because when I'm around the police, I kind of tend to get what I call Wesker calm, because I just know I'm going to have to de-escalate some shit. So I got my Wesker calm, but he's all like, why are you talking to her? What's going on? And they were like, no, we just wanted to make sure she was okay, because she'd been standing here for a while. But again, they didn't come at me even with like that, what the fuck are you doing here attitude. They came over literally with the attitude of, are you okay? Because it's been a bit and you're standing here, and most people only stand here for like maybe 20-30 minutes. Hey, Raven. People mostly stand here like maybe 30 minutes at best, not 40-50 minutes. So I wasn't upset by that. It was a bit much on a day where everything was already happening all at once, and I didn't even get mad, and I'm still not even mad at that interaction, because it, like I said, it tracks. I had been standing here for a while, and they were genuinely concerned about me. So that was something. So I have on story time number 2, not a story, but how I was pretty much invisible to the police when I was in Japan. I can't tell you how liberating that is, to be like, you don't exist. Like, literally. And it's not that I think if something had gone sideways, even with the language barrier, because I only speak enough Japanese to weasel through their society, not have a whole ass conversation with somebody. I think if something went sideways, I think the police officers in Japan would probably take the time to try to help me the best they could, even in spite of the language barrier. But there's something real freeing about walking past a police officer and not getting like that, what are you up to kind of glance, that little sideways glance. You thinking, you plotting something, you doing something, you're thinking about doing something. And it's like, only thing I'm thinking about is going the fuck away from you because you're freaking me out. So that's weirdly liberating, that you don't have to worry that somebody's going to ask you where you're going, what you're doing, why are you doing this? Like, even if you're just kind of minding your own business. So that's weirdly liberating. So, and side note, I am kind of very attracted to Japanese police officers because their uniforms are so immaculately pressed. It's like, even if they sat down, it's like the wrinkles just magically disappear. There is not a crease out of fucking place on a Japanese police officer, and it is intriguing. And I don't know, for whatever reason, that just gets my goat. So I was like, shit. But again, foreign country, black person, not a fucking problem with law enforcement. Now, conversely, the 3 interactions that I've had with police officers back in Florida. The first time was I got stopped by the police, not because I was driving weird, and admittedly, I do drive fast. I like to drive fast. But I wasn't driving fast, I wasn't doing anything, and Shyla was in the car with me. I cannot remember where I was coming from. I want to say I took Shyla to the dog park. And I think that's what happened. I took her to the dog park, and that's why she was with me. And the cop stopped me, and he was like, I could tell he was super young. And I could tell he was probably relatively new to the force. And he was like, who's Jose? And I was like, that's my husband. He's like, oh, does he know his tags are almost expired? And I think I was like, yes, he knows. He's like, well, can I have I would like to see your license. And I gave him the spiel of, my license is in my wallet is in my purse. Do I have your permission to get them? And he just looked like, what? And I repeated it, and he was like, confused, like, yeah, okay, I guess is what he said. So I calmly went in my purse, got my driver's license, handed it to him. He was like, oh, okay. And like, I think he went to go check it, and then it was nothing there, because at the time I had nothing on my record, even for like a ticket or anything. And he's like, oh, okay, just make sure your husband renews his tags and you're fine. Now, as I was leaving, because I was getting nervous, because they, like, I don't know what they're going to do with Shyla in the car, or what the fuck is it, whatever, but he let me go. But as I was getting ready to leave, this other cop was coming up, and I didn't like the look on his face, because he just had a puss on his face, and I didn't trust it, but thankfully I didn't have to deal with him. Incident number 3, because I'm going to skip 2 and save 2 for the last. Incident number 3 was when I had the accident, and I explained to the police officer everything that had happened. I had explained that I just blitzed out and just missed the stop sign, and the lady hit me, and I'm fine, and everybody's fine. And we had like a whole conversation, and I was just, again, that weird Wesker calm. And he was like, I'm sorry, I have to write you a ticket. I feel bad that I have to write you this ticket. And I was like, it's fine, it's whatever. And I didn't try to get out of it. He understood. He was fine with me. Perfectly normal police interaction. And that cop was white, but that's not really relevant to the story. All these cops, I think, except for Mr. Number 2 story, which I'm about to tell now. So number 2's story is, it was the performance, it would happen the night of the final performance in Naples. The place where I was staying, the owner of that establishment was a whomping dickhole and had harassed me and said I left a bad review. Why would I leave a review if I'm still at your establishment? But you can fuck off. And the Naples Garden Inn, if you wanted to know, is a hellhole and a piece of shit. They have roaches, and the owner is an asshole. Don't ever stay there. And yes, I said it finally. It took me a couple years to say it, but the owner is an asshole and they have roaches. Fuck that place. So I had decided the night of the last performance, right after the last performance, I was going home. I wasn't staying there not one more night, and I was done. I packed up my shit the night before, took videos in case he decided to say I had messed up his establishment, because I left that place way cleaner than what I had gotten it. And I took off from my performance, did my performance, got undressed, did all of that, and made my way back to Tampa, all on, I would say, probably about 8 hours of sleep. So, and I tried to take naps throughout the day, but performance, your stuff is all kind of heightened. So I went home. The performance ended, I want to say, at 11. I left out of there by almost midnight. And it takes 3.5 hours to get home from Naples. Or like, yeah, it's like 3.5 hours. I'm already in the Tampa area. The whole ride, nothing had happened. And I was driving, and I was in the slow lane. But there was a cop car ahead, and it was parked on the side, and I didn't know you had to go over, because I guess if a cop car is in an emergency lane in Florida, you have to move over to the other lane or drive slow. I wasn't speeding, oddly enough, but I didn't realize that was a law, so another cop stopped me, and I have all my stuff. I have Hattie Jarrett and my Stars jacket in the front of the car. And I pull over immediately, which I did not know. You're not supposed to pull over immediately, because the cops can do something to you and nobody will ever know. Story for another day. So the cop pulls me over, and he already, like, he's not on the driver's side. Because usually I was expecting him to be on the driver's side. He wasn't on the driver's side. He was on the passenger side, which freaks me out, which still to this day freaks me out. And I rolled down my window, which I struggled to roll down that window. But when I finally rolled it down, he's like, why did you do that? Like, automatically, I was like, what? And then he looks in the car and sees the Stars jacket. What is this? Like, he's like escalating himself. You could tell he's escalating. And I'm like, it's from a video game. Well, it says Raccoon Police. What is this? And I'm like, it's from a video game. Well, it's saying, what is the Raccoon Police? What is it? And I'm just like, it's from a video game. That's all I kept answering. And he's like, well, and then makes all these like huffy puffy things. And basically, I spend about 5 to 10 minutes de-escalating him, having to calm him down by again having that weird Wesker kind of like calm about me, and just not giving him an attitude, not doing anything that would set him off, because he saw the Stars jacket and probably thought I was trying to impersonate a police officer. It's pretty much, it's just really overpriced cosplay at that point. But whatever. So it took me 5 minutes to de-escalate this guy. And by the end of the whole interaction, he too apologized for giving me a ticket. He made me cry, but not in a bad way, because he was like just telling me all these horror stories, and I started freaking out and crying. And it was such a weird situation. But the fact that I had to sit there and de-escalate this guy because he assumed all this stuff. I had to tell my mom this story recently because she didn't know. I didn't tell her about it. And I was like, I had to explain to him more than once that I was coming back from performing in an opera. And it was like, and he was just baffled, but that was the point, and the point in which he started to like de-escalate is when I told him I'm an opera singer and I'm on my way back home from a performance. And he was like, what? And I had to explain that to him again. So, and I understand you're not expecting a black woman to say she's coming home from performing in a fucking opera, but he has all these preconceived notions, especially after seeing the Stars jacket, which wasn't anything. And the fact that I had to de-escalate this guy, it just still irks me that I have to jump through so many fucking hoops so I don't end up as one of these people whose names you have to say because they can't speak for themselves because the cops have all these heightened emotions. Which brings me to sunny point number 3. There's got to be a better way. And I don't even know what the better way would be, because I have all these question marks. I have demilitarization of the police. That would be helpful, because there's nothing, like, you're trying to get people to de-escalate, right? But you have them having grenade launchers and fucking, like, weapons that go into war situations. And how can you de-escalate somebody when they're taught to always be at like a 12? Like, you're always at a 12. Like, well, every traffic stop is dangerous and everybody's always out to get you. And I just don't think everybody at all times is always out to get you. But that therein is kind of the problem, because I have also on here, I think there should be comprehensive pre-screening of new police officers for racist, bigoted ideology, which I don't know how you could do that. But I truly am starting to believe, I think police should have mandatory comprehensive therapy. Mainly because, as somebody pointed out years ago, police officers are always seeing people not in their finest moments. They're usually, if you're calling the police, is something has gone egregiously sideways. And I get that, and I get that you never know the kind of situation you're stepping into, but probably because of that, because you're kind of at a heightened sense of hyper awareness, let's just say, maybe you need to sit and talk to somebody, like a trained professional who can handle some shit, who can teach you tactics to like not be like always at a 12, because it's probably not good for your brain to constantly be at a 12 all fucking day and night. So I get your job is dangerous. I get your job is sketchy. I get that you often have to go to sketchy places and deal with questionable people. But not everybody, especially all black people, are questionable or sketchy. It's like, fuck. Just like you want to go home at the end of the night to see your family, so do black people. So, I can't do it. I can't do it with this subject anymore. It's like, there's so much that needs to be changed. And you have police unions that are just resistant to change. Even now, these are the things they've been complaining about for years. We shouldn't be going on mental health calls because we don't know how to deal with that. Maybe they should have not a police force, but specialized, like you have like the SWAT team and the like gang units and shit. Maybe they should have a specialized group of people, maybe like social workers, and if they have to arrest somebody, like specialized police officers, like somebody that specializes in, like take somebody that specializes in negotiation for somebody that specializes in dealing with domestic disputes. Something like that. Like you have specialized doctors. You're not gonna send a pregnant woman to go see an endocrinologist or a doctor that has to deal with kidneys. Not unless there's like a specific thing that has to do with that. You send a pregnant woman to go see an OBGYN. You don't send somebody who has like a brain situation. You don't go they go see a neurologist. If you have a brain situation, you go see a neurologist. You're not gonna go see like a urologist for a neurology problem. You know what I'm saying? So if you can have specialized doctors, you should probably have specialized police that specialize in specific things and how to handle specific fucking things. Not just send everybody to every fucking thing, because not all situations are going to be the same. And not all responses are going to need, I don't know, the max amount of force. A traffic stop should not require 7 police officers unless, again, something has gone horribly off the rails. So, oh God, I can't. I have a headache talking about this. I just don't know. I don't know. I seriously am like floored that, and I don't get why. It's like if something is not working. I know they like to say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. That to me is not the definition of insanity. That to me should be the definition of idiocy. You're doing the exact same shit, the exact same fucking way, and you're like, no, this is gonna work this time. That's not insane. It's actually fucking stupid. So if we've been policing the same dumbass way for the last X amount of centuries, maybe you might want to try some different shit. Cause apparently what the fuck has been going on for the last X amount of years definitely ain't working. So maybe it's time to think a little bit outside of the damn box and see what the fuck outside the box look like. Cause the inside of the box is a piece of shit. So I don't know. But I understand the resistance to change, as I've often said. I like change when it doesn't have to deal with me. But there is, I don't know if this is a saying, but I heard this on a British comedy once. A change is as good as a rest. So, and not arrest like you going to jail. I mean, a rest is what's needed, because what's happening right the fuck now ain't working for anyone. It doesn't serve any good purpose. And I don't see it changing. Something came out. They killed a guy this past weekend. They killed a girl, a 15-year-old girl, where she had a knife. I don't know. It's never going to end as long as we keep doing the same dumbass ideas that we've been doing and not willing to change any fucking thing. So, and that brings me to my final point. Where do we go from here? Oh no, that was the end. Oh, my controversial statement. Do I want to share with y'all my controversial statement? I'll share it with you. So, through all of this, I have been in Germany. I have been, as I stated during that Capitol bullshit, I'm the safest that I've ever been in my entire life. The town that I live in, it's like primarily German people living in this town, but I've seen a lot of different other kinds of people in this town. Like I said, you have the African people that live on the outskirts of town. I've seen Turkish people walking around. It's just a town with a lot of different people. And again, I am the safest I've ever been. There's no weird racist that I've seen shit going on in this town. Yet, I am disgustingly homesick. And I hate the fact that I'm homesick for insecurity, not being safe, and just abject fuckery. And it's sick. It's real sick. And I'm like, I don't understand how I'm so homesick when home is just been nothing but abusive. And before you all, whoever all goes off and is like, what do you mean abusive? What do you... Let me break it down to you. So I was like, being black in the United States is pretty much being akin to being in an abusive relationship. And I'm in a grossly abusive relationship with my home country. And like I said, before you all think I'm being hyperbolic, think I'm talking out of my ass, I found some article that says the 64 signs of how to recognize mental and emotional abuse. And I think there's 64 of these things. So, and a lot of this is applicable to being black in the United States. So, name calling, blatantly call you stupid or a loser, or use too awful words too awful to repeat here. Character assassination. This usually involves the word always. Like, black people are always this, black people are always that. And yeah. Patronizing, something in the realm of, I know you tried, but this is just beyond your understanding. Like, black people don't know how to do this and whatever. Dismissiveness. You tell them about something that's important to you and they say it's nothing. So, yeah. Insults to your appearance, belittling your accomplishments. Sounds pretty familiar. Shame and control, threats, basically anytime, I don't know too much, well, there are threats that are lobbied against black people. Monitoring your whereabouts. I'm going to put this in the lens of being followed around a store, and that has happened to me, even though I am probably one of the least likely people on this planet to steal some dumb shit, because here's a fucked up controversial statement. I'm like, if I'm going to steal something, I'm not going to steal something out of some bullshit place. I'm going to steal something that it'd be worth doing a jail time for. Like, I don't know, a huge, gigantic gemstone of some sort, or something worth actually doing prison time for. I'm not going to steal some fucking trinket. Fuck that. So, no. Lecturing, belaboring your errors with long monologues makes it clear that they're thinking you're beneath them. How many times that has gone around. Feigned helplessness. They may say you don't know how to do something, or it's easier to do something yourself. And yeah. Using others? No, but yeah, they do kind of, and that spins into something else, but let me keep going. Blaming, accusing, and denial. Hang on. Goading and blaming. Abusers know how to upset you, but once troubles start, it's your fault for creating it. Denying the abuse. When you complain about the attacks, the abusers will deny it, seemingly bewildered at the very thought of it. Oh, how many times has that gone around? Trivializing. When you want to talk about your hurt feelings, they accuse you of overreacting and making mountains out of molehills. Oh my God. How many? In the gaslighting. The fucking gaslighting that goes on at home. Just gaslit the shit out of every black person. Just get the constant gaslighting. I literally cannot. Destroying and denying. Now this says they might crack your phone or lose something of yours and then deny it. Yeah, take away rights and then oh no, we're just trying to keep voter rights safe. So yeah, so it's an abusive relationship. I am in a fucked up abusive relationship with my home country, and it makes me so crazy that I am so bad homesick, and I honestly shouldn't be, because I am absolutely safe here. And there's just no fuckery. It's so messed up. And this is something I'm having the hardest time trying to reconcile, even in myself. And it's so bad. It's so bad. And I wish it didn't have to be like this, but unfortunately it is. And I don't know what to do with it. So, and I don't want to tell people to leave the US, because there's many black people who just don't have the financial means to be able to do it. And it's not really like they teach us, like, I took Spanish in high school, but it's not like we have the opportunity outside of a high school setting, many of us, to learn about a different culture, or even, be offered another language other than Spanish. So I'm not going to tell, but also there's a part of me that says, I don't want to tell people to leave, because how do you fix a situation and you just up and leave it? And then there's this weird part of my brain, I hear it even now, like, well, why try to fix something that nobody wants to fix? And it's just like, I don't know what the right answers are. There's something on my favorites list, I guess I'll post a link to it, where, and they don't tell you this in American history, by the way, that in the 1920s and 30s, Russia came in and scooped up not a lot of black people, but scooped up some black people under not the guise, but under the kind of, well, we're communists and we don't really have like race situations. And there's a whole bunch of black people that had immigrated to Russia in like the early 20th century. And they don't tell you, they definitely don't tell you this in American history, because that wouldn't work for the very pro-American nonsense that we get that is history. But yeah, so, and the lady who I actually knew about from years ago, she used to have a Russian talk show. It was a sex talk show too, but they interviewed her because she is descended from one of these black people that left. And excuse me, she makes this statement that in Russia, they don't have systemic racism, it's just casual. And I'm just like, why do we have to have a choice? Can't it just not be, like, can't it just be, oh, hey, you're cool, so we're all cool, so let's just be cool together? Apparently, that's just way too hard for people to comprehend, and I just wish it wouldn't. I really, 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 really wish people would get the fuck over the whole race bit. This is a tiny planet. Nobody, despite any misgivings, is going any fucking place. And if not for anything, we need to focus on who the true enemy is. Enemy that we can't defeat, by the way. The true enemy here is nature. Because I'm telling you, man, this planet is going to open up and swallow all of us whole one day. Because it's going to be sick of humanity's shit. And that's just going to be the end of it. Instead of fighting nature, we need to be working together with nature so the planet can just open up and swallow us whole. Because that's what the fuck is going to be next. And that's an enemy that doesn't give a shit about what race, religion, any fucking thing. It's gonna take you out, and that's just what the end of the fucking situation is gonna be. So instead of fucking worrying about black people, white people, Asian people, who are these side motherfuckers over here, no, we need to be getting together and be like kissing nature's ass so it don't swallow its fucking whole. So, I don't know. The last thing I had on that list is where we go from here. I have no clue. It's not going to stop until people collectively, and I mean everybody, is like, okay, this ain't fucking working for us. We got to come up with some new shit, because this is stupid and this is not helping. And it's not. None of it is helpful. So instead of just sitting here bitching and moaning and whatever, can we find a way to get along with nature and get each other and nature? Because seriously, that's the real situation. It is. That's the real ass tea, motherfuckers. That's going to be what takes us out. So, I don't get it, but while I'm glad the jury did the right thing in this situation, we have a super long way to go in the United States. And I know when people would say, "Well, you live in a country where there's not like a lot of guns." No, I just watched some shit where they were like, people have been hoarding weapons in Germany. I'm like, that's not a good situation. And there's a store in downtown Stuttgart that me and Jose have passed where they sell firearms. The firearms are like in the window. So don't sit here for a minute and think that German people ain't packing. It's somebody in this village probably packing right now. So I'm not trying to hear that. What it is they just don't probably offer any old body off the block a gun, but that's a whole topic for another day. So, but it all needs to change. It needs to change. And I'm hoping that this will be the catalyst for that change, because the time has long since passed. And I truly believe, I think police officers need therapy. And I'm not saying that derogatorily. I mean, if you are constantly at a hypervigilant state, that is probably some kind of way, neurologically speaking, not right for your brain. And you need to get you need to talk to somebody about that. So I just don't know. It's so much that needs to change, and I don't. That's the one thing the United States has never been good at, is change. It's like it's just resistant. But the thing about change is it happens whether you want it or not. So I would say it's nice to be on the nice side of history where people aren't getting murdered and tortured and treated like abject shit just because of the amount of melanin in their skin, because that's irrelevant to everything. So figure it the fuck out, motherfuckers, because it's getting kind of tired. And I would like to go back to in the United States that I don't have to worry about getting killed by a police officer. And here's another fun fact that worries me. Not only getting killed by a police officer, but everybody digging through my social media, digging through these YouTube channels, digging through my live journals, trying to figure out why I was deserving of death. No one deserves shit like that. And it needs to fucking end, and it needs to end sooner rather than later. And I'm so sorry this was not uplifting today. This was a topic I had been kind of avoiding, and I should have did yesterday, but I don't know. It's a hard one. And much like when I had to talk about the Uyghur slave labor cotton, this too is all fucked up with no good ending. So, sorry it was so long. But that is all I have for now. And hopefully we can get back to fun stuff, because there was another Resident Evil demo drop and I need to talk about that nonsense. So that'll be the fun thing we talk about next time, when my brain isn't all full of headache and like what the fuckness. So until that time, later.